What's good, y'all? Welcome to an episode of the GinTV podcast. As always, your boy EAZY.
Hey, A1DasauceGod.
And as always, we have a very, very special guest in the building today. We got the man Conrad in here. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
You know, we usually do our drink review, but he does not drink, and we respect that. But
we do
partake. So
Do your thing.
today is Lagunas and it's called Little Something.
Little something.
Right. Oh, it's good. Very good. 8 out of 10. Solid.
Is that local?
I don't know.
Chicago, Illinois?
Oh, Chicago. Okay.
Chicago.
Yeah. Sounds like I don't. I don't remember that type of beer being on the market when I was indulging.
You know what?
That's what's the name of it again?
Little something.
Little something. Okay.
Well, I have noticed we had a older gentleman
Oh, okay.
on the podcast not too long ago. He didn't really know about the IPAs either, man.
Mm-hmm.
Might be like our generation. That's like what we drinking.
You know,
it's interesting.
White people drink IPAs.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, well, actually, they drink anything.
True.
So,
but the reason we have Conrad on the podcast today is, you know, instead of us doing our usual bullshit and just making up, we have someone that's actually very familiar with what's going on with Kyrie Irving and what kind of, you know, made him post what he posts. Mm-hmm. So just before we get too deep into that, we're just gonna go over a couple things leading up to it. So for y'all that don't know or do know, you know, Kyrie Irving posted something on Twitter as a link to a movie that's on Amazon, and he's been getting a lot of heat for it, right?
In support of Kanye.
What?
In support of Kanye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But a lot prior to this, right? I didn't even realize like what the movie's about, that it existed, or I don't really know. I didn't really give to or think anything about Jewish people at all. Like they were just not in my radar, right? So, just to begin with, let's go over what the word Semitic means.
Mm-hmm. Relating to and denoting a family of languages that include Hebrew, Arabic, Aramaic, and a certain ancient language such as
Phoenician.
That one? You got that next one? Akkadian?
Yes.
And constituting the main subgroup of the Afric
Aesthetic family.
I'm gonna just have you read, man. Like,
okay, relating to the
go to
people who
college.
speak Semitic languages, especially Hebrew and Aramaic.
All right,
so
that's the original language. The Aramaic.
So, to my knowledge, usually when they're talking about Semitic, right, or Semitism, it's referring to Jewish people.
Well, the Jewish people are the modern day Jewish people. It's referring to the Jews, the ancient Jews. See, this is where people get confused.
Okay.
Jewish is the people who are now currently residing in what we commonly known as the Middle East.
Okay.
And the people that they are said, this is where the problem is. The big question is, who are the ancient and who are the real ancient Israelites or Jews?
All right. We're gonna definitely dive into that.
Okay,
but
go ahead.
Typically now, right? So it's referred to Jewish people.
The Jewish people, yes.
All right. So then the opposite of it, or I guess the issue with it is this word, the anti-Semitic, which is
a hostile or prejudice of Jewish people. Anti-Semitic remarks were posted on a site as an example.
So I guess to me that just sounds like a fancier word for racism, right? Like,
exactly.
So essentially,
why don't they just use racism? Like, why do they have to have their own word?
Well, they have specifically for Jewish people.
Yeah,
that's interesting to me. So they have a specific racist term just for them.
Can you scroll back to the last previous definition?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
No, it's just interesting to me. Like, instead of just saying like that you're racist against Jewish people, they have their own term, anti-Semitic, right?
Absolutely. Well, because they go on the concept of what the Bible is with the ancient Israelites, when God specifically picked them as his favorite, as his personal family on earth. Okay. So that's where that whole concept that you can't say anything bad about us. We are the chosen people of God. That's where that comes from. We're superior. We're above you. That's that whole concept, and that comes straight from the scriptures.
So, you know, the issue is Kyrie posted a movie that I guess had certain anti-Semitic, you know, rhetoric in it, right? In which he's getting a lot of heat for. And doing that, the organization that he works for, the Nets, has suspended him without pay, and they've given him like, was it 5
games suspension? Yes,
5-game suspension, and these terms to return, right? Which are apologize and condemn the film he promoted, make a $500,000 donation to the anti-hate causes, which He tried, but they denied. Complete sensitive training. It's kind of like that bullshit, like things they make you do at work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Complete anti-Semitism training, which kind of seems like the last one. So it's like just repeating.
Filler bullshit.
Meet with the ADL and Jewish leaders of Brooklyn. Okay. And lastly, meet with the team owner, Joe Tsai, to demonstrate an understanding of the situation. What do you guys think about these terms and conditions for Kyrie to return to play basketball? You think they're fair?
I think they're excessive.
Huh?
I think they're excessive, to be honest with you.
What do you think?
Well, I think they're way overboard and out of bounds with this. For the simple fact, the man had nothing to do with writing, producing, making anything. All he did was post it.
A link, not
A link.
He didn't promote it. He just posted a link.
And so when he, through the interview, from what I totally understood, he says, "How can you blame me for something that I'm not responsible for?" You get into free speech, you get into a lot of areas, gray areas, and so when you're talking about, like you said, the people that are actually running the show, you step on the wrong toes, and this is what happens. So now, this whole condition of these, whatever he has to do, is humiliation. It's now we want you to we want you to condemn the very thing that you stand for. So no, I'm totally against that.
That's a very interesting way to think about it, because when I was reading that, I didn't really think of it as humiliation, but I could see where
you're being
going
humiliated. Now you're going to be made to publicly apologize for something. And don't forget this. Kyrie has been out this with his beliefs for over 5 years now, and he's very public about it. And that's why you have a lot of the athletes and everybody coming forth with their harsh opinions of him, because you have a right to believe in what you believe. And I haven't heard anything of him spreading any type of hate or saying anything derogatory about a certain people. He believes a certain way, and you have a right to do that. But when you step on the wrong toes that are in power, then therein lies the problem.
I mean, we've seen something similar to this with like Colin Kaepernick, where like he went against pretty much the American nation essentially by taking a knee during the Pledge of Allegiance, and to us it's probably like, all right, but to some people they really took offense to that. So it's like, this isn't the first time that we're seeing people getting their jobs stripped from them for their specific beliefs. So it's like, how can we in one token a certain person's belief system or a certain group of people belief system and want to support that, but in turn kind of denounce what he's saying and try to make him almost suffer consequences for that? That doesn't make sense to me.
My thing with Kyrie is, so he's been kind of, I don't want to say a problem, but he's been a very independent thinker for the last couple of years. I mean, like, I've kept up with him from the start of his NBA journey, which real good rookie. And then he was the crazy thing is he's had such a turnaround personality wise. This used to be the party guy that only used to fuck with white chicks.
It was just spiritual.
For real, bro. Now he got super woke. Got married. He's just so pro black and all this. But
so he grew up.
He grew up. But it's just it's just.
Is his wife black?
Yeah. So it's just interesting to see where he started at to where he is now. You feel me? But my only issue with him is sometimes I wonder what his motive is. Because all right, a couple years ago he thought the earth was flat, right? Which is all right. That's an interesting way to think about it. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. And then last year he didn't want to take the vaccine to play in the NBA, which he couldn't play a lot of games, which is okay, I respect your beliefs. And now he's doing this, right? Or he posted this. So sometimes what I wonder about him is does he truly believe these things, or is he one of those people that just likes going against the flow? Do you know
right?
You ever met someone you ever like the popular show?
Absolutely, right? Yeah. I've met people
you like a show, right? And everyone likes it, and then there's that one person who doesn't like it, but they just don't like it just to be different. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sometimes I wonder if is that's because Kyrie to me is all right, when he speaks, he's I've watched a couple of his interviews, and it's he seems like he thinks he's a lot smarter than he really is. And when he when they're interviewing him about the movie and stuff like that, it's he contradicted himself a couple times in the interview.
Okay.
Because at one point he's I'm just a regular person. I know what I post has no different value than what compared to what you post. Sure. And then later on he's I'm in a platform, or I'm in a position where, like, you know, I could have a lot of influence in what I post. It's just but it's like, so to me, it's like, I wonder what his motive is, like, because really originally Kanye kind of started this thing, right? And then, like, now is he kind of
Nick Cannon? See, this stuff goes back to Dr. York. When you this is not new. This has been everybody in the black. We're going to get raw with this real quick.
All right.
Okay, because we're not going to dance around it now. Yeah. We're going to get raw with it. Mm-hmm. It's been in the black community. This thing with Kyrie, this thing with Nick Cannon, this thing with Dr. York. All these people have been putting this message out there for many, many years.
What message?
Of who our identity. That's what this is all based on. We're the only culture, and I'm talking about the American Negro. This is what it's all about. Okay. So we can't be mistaken about what it's really all about. But we're the only people that we are known to this, that don't have a culture, don't know where we come from. They say we come from Africa. Well, if that's the case, there's over 1,500 languages spoken in Africa. At this current time, it's a continent. What do you know? Which one you speak? You know where you come from?
No.
A1?
No.
Do you know your nationality and your roots?
I know
your ancestry.
Some of it, but I don't know. I guess originally.
Okay.
Was like, because I'm Brazilian, but like also, but there was like black slaves in Brazil, so like I don't know where they came from.
Brazil, are you kidding me? Has a major like all the islands of black, and the lighter. Let's talk about that for a second. Not getting off of the lighter skin, fair skinned Brazilians treat the black Brazilians, and they call them. Can I say that word?
No.
Nigger.
Yeah.
In Cuba, same thing. People.
I know my dad talks about that.
Okay,
like when he was growing up,
they're treated. They're separate on these islands. So Kyrie, he's only basing his beliefs on his ancestry, on where he comes from. What's wrong with that? Because people don't want to accept it. I don't think that he feels like he's smarter. And let me tell you something about being smarter. It's okay. It's okay to be smarter than other people, because some people work harder to be smarter. Mm-hmm. So if he has the money or the platform to put that information out there, and I critique every word he says. So I have a concept for that, for the American public. Chew meat and spit the bones out. Okay? Take some of what applies and that you know it's true, and take it from there. Do your study, do your research. Be aware. You can enlighten yourself. So what Kyrie is doing out there, he's going to help a lot of people. Kanye is going to help a lot of people. This message has been in the Latino and the black community for 100 years in this country. You know why it's now in the forefront? Like I said, you have two mega superstars in Kanye and Kyrie that are global. And this message is getting out there. And people are going to wake up and they're going to go, And they're going to start to do their own research. And there's nothing wrong with that, because self-education is the greatest thing on earth. You know, they insult the black man and the Hispanic man by saying, you want to hide something, put it in a book.
Right.
We'll never find it. Well, guess what? We're going to start reading. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't have to agree.
You know what? It's interesting you say that, because so the documentary that Kyrie posted is actually the #1 documentary on Amazon right now. So like
at the current moment, because of
it. And why aren't they going after Jeff Bezos right now? He's promoting it. He's making money off of the book.
That is an interesting thing. Where
so why don't they censor him? Hey, you're out there making millions, Mr. Bezos. It's your platform that is going to go global. With the books. First of all, the book's been out for many, many, many years. So this movie, I watched it years ago on YouTube. I told you that already.
For free?
Yeah, of course. I watched like 5 years ago.
I had to pay $15 for it, man.
Okay, well, watch this. It was on YouTube. So the point I'm trying to make is, go after him. He's making zillions, selling the books and promoting the movie. Why
do you think they're not going after him?
Why do you think? He's of the upper echelon. He's elite. Money talks. Do you realize that? It's power. It's power. And if you have the money, Tupac said, well, don't go to war until your money's right. What did Kanye say? My money's right.
So not no more.
His money's right. He can go independent. Kanye is a brand. Don't ever forget that.
Okay.
He's a brand now. He can go solo. It doesn't take anything to make clothes and put your name on it, does it? He's got enough money right now to create his own manufacturing and put his name on it.
Sway been telling him to do this before he even got to where he's at.
Yeah.
Sway was right.
Kanye's money is long. Don't ever forget that. He's not stupid. In fact, people underestimate him. He's actually a genius. He's like a savant type. He's like, you never know. Do I agree with a lot of his behaviors? Absolutely not. But success is success, right or wrong.
Right.
Let's segue from that a little bit. Do you think Kanye is crazy?
Absolutely. Uncertifiably crazy, but in a good way. Because he's tapping into people's how can I put this? He's waking people up. He's saying, hey, listen, you know where I started. Now, there's a lot of sacrifices and stuff that go along with that. But when you get into a position of that notoriety and that superstardom and you're in the upper stratosphere, you don't think the same as we do.
So you do think that he has some mental issues happening?
I do too.
Okay.
You know what? But
I mean, but that's most of us. Everybody.
That's most of us. So Kanye has mental issues with money.
But I think the problem that people have with Kanye is the fact of how vocal he is, and as almost comes in times of like a manic situations. Like
or you got house niggers and field niggers. So he's a field nigger because he's got the voice. The house niggers are like this. Shh. Yes, master. If the master said we got a cold, I got a cold too. That's the house one because they want to stay in the house. They want to be treated different. The ones that are out working in the field, they the ones screaming, singing kumbaya and all the spiritual Negro hymns.
Do you think that's why a lot of...
they got a different attitude.
I like this guy, bro.
Yeah, they got a different attitude.
Do you think that's why a lot of like Kanye or Kyrie Irving's like teammates and friends, like they're not like going to their aids because like they're house niggas?
But they want that money.
They don't want they don't want the rug pulled underneath them. Right?
Shaquille O'Neal took a picture 5 years ago with the Hebrew Israelites. It's all on the internet now with General Yohana from the ISUPK. And congratulated them on their work and how he's in full support of them, and then called Kyrie an idiot because he.
what's even funnier?
What's that?
This movie actually played in one of Shaquille O'Neal's theaters, movie theaters.
Yeah, the other day. Yeah, it all came out, and so he's making money off of it too. So censor him now.
Oh. I mean, he did threaten that he has more money than Kanye, so Kanye shouldn't be telling him what to do.
Yeah, well,
Shaq said that.
Yeah, he said that. He said, well, he quoted a Kanye song by "Why should I listen to you when I have more money than you?"
You know what's what one interesting thing to me about this whole thing is, so I anti-Semitic racism. I think it's all bad. I don't think you should be prejudiced against any religion or any group or any race, right? And however you perceive this, so I watched I'm an hour into the actual documentary, hour and a half, right? And there are certain things that I like that definitely just spoke out to me. It's like, okay, this I could see where like Jewish people would have an issue with this. But what the interesting part is to me, okay, so now Jewish people are perceiving what's going on as anti-Semitic, right? Or another word for racism. And there's immediate action, right? But like all other groups of like, racism, like experience racism in this country all the time and nothing happens. It's just, I found it so interesting that like, all they really kind of said, right? Or at least Kanye said was like, oh, these are the people in charge, right? And then you immediately feel it that they're in charge. I didn't even notice how much in charge they were until they kind of flexed. It's like, yo, now he got dropped from everything. Like, so it's like almost like he kind of was right about what he said.
Right.
You know what's crazy is that like I was gonna argue that, but there is some validity to that because I was gonna say, well, it's not so much like governmental changes are happening; it's more so on a personal level that changes are happening. So the people themselves are making the biggest cries about the situation. The people themselves are the people that owns the companies are the ones that's making the changes to denounce these NBA players.
Exactly. So do you have a small voice? You're a voice crying in the wilderness. EAZY, you're a voice crying in the wilderness. A1. I'm a voice crying in the wilderness. Okay, so what do I mean by that?
I don't know.
Okay, so what I mean, if you have 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 voices crying in the wilderness, maybe hundreds of thousands of us crying in the wilderness, and you're saying the same thing, and this has been happening for many, many years, the message is still the same. Why is it only takes two to start a movement? What happened to the other 3, 4, 500,000 voices that have been screaming from their graves, that have been screaming bloody murder, that their kids don't have adequate medical, don't have places to live, don't have good education. They live in poverty. They're living in the ghettos. They're being called bywords of all kinds, of every single. They're being subjugated, and I'm talking about the blacks, Native Americans, and the Hispanics people. So our voices, what's wrong with our voice? Right? Nothing. It's the same voice. It's the same message. But the only difference is Kanye's is bigger now. Kyrie's is bigger. They have a platform. Whereas we're a part of it. And collectively, if we get that message out there, it's going to change lives. And it's going to change them for the better. You know, I'm 63. I don't think the same way when I was in my 40s and 30s. I'm a lot wiser now. You know, I appreciate things. When you get older, you're 29. Yeah. You know, you could easily be distracted. Well, 30. How old are you? No, I'm not 32. So you have I'm not saying you still have a lot of growing to do. Like I do every day.
I understand. So, every year I'm a different person.
You're a different person.
So every year I think differently, I act differently. So
But your voice is important.
Yeah.
Your voice is important. My daughter's voice is important. And now, see, this is all biblical. I don't know how familiar you are with the Bible. So, like I said,
skim through it.
Okay, so like I said, there's the main theme in the Bible, and it's written for us, by us, and about us. And
when you say who's us?
The Israelites. They're not the Israelis. Okay, there's a group of people that God made a covenant with in the very beginning of time in Exodus, when He freed them from from slavery from the Egyptian Pharaoh, and He made an agreement with these people, and they were known as the Israelites. Okay, and all through the Israelites, He made them a promise that if they obeyed and if they kept His laws, statutes, and commandments, that they would be lifted up, that they would be a special people, that they would receive blessings and great abundance, but they would have to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments. But they didn't do that.
And the Israelites,
not the Israelis, just the big
Israelites,
difference.
right? These are the ones you said that were freed
that descend from.
No, I'm saying they were freed from Egypt,
right?
Led by Moses.
Led by Moses into the wilderness.
Okay.
But
these were like from my knowledge, these were Jewish people, right?
Black Jews.
Black. That's a key word. That's a key word.
That's the key. They were black.
Because from my knowledge, or the way it was taught to me, it's like they just said Jewish people, and I've always assumed that
because you watch the Ten Commandments on TV.
Yeah,
everything's white. You know, God's white. The angels are white. You know,
they call it whitewashed.
Yeah, whitewash. Watch this. Think about this now. If heaven, I want you to think. I'm gonna give you a little food for thought today. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay, think about this week. If the white man who is running the show right now,
Caucasian.
There's no question. Caucasian, yeah, we'll say Caucasian. To be properly, I don't know, whatever. If they actually thought heaven was real, you think they would have told us about it?
Ooh.
Think about it.
No, that's the lie they told slaves to keep.
No, they wait a minute.
My bad.
Oh, no. We didn't find out about that until, after we were freed in 1863. They kept the Bible for us.
I mean, that's a good point.
They didn't want to teach us
why
read.
Why would you tell people that you essentially hate about the best case scenario? Like that all works on the end, right? All right.
So Muhammad Ali, when he was 10 years old, he asked his mom, when he was Cassius Clay, he asked his mom a simple question. He says, "Mom, how come all the angels are white? Do they have any black angels? God, everybody's white. He said, "Mom, I've been thinking about this angel stuff and this heaven stuff." She said, "What?" He said, "I don't want to go to heaven." This is in Muhammad Ali's autobiography. She says, "Don't say that. Of course you want to go to heaven." He says, "Nope." Why? Are they going to call me nigger in heaven too?
Ooh. He said that at 10 years old?
That's in the 60s, my man. Shame, isn't it?
Damn.
Same thing's happening now. I think about this as a black man, and this has nothing to do with you being prejudiced.
Right.
Watch this. First of all, we're incapable of being prejudiced. We're brought here on slave ships and in chains. How the hell can we be prejudiced? That was inflicted. We had no race. We were all hunter-gatherers. We were masters of this land. And by the way, before it was North America, South America, it was Turtle Island. Yeah, I know all the history. I mean, I can educate you guys from now until the moon comes back. How they just raped, robbed, and pillaged everything. They just went up and down after they got familiar with the currents on the high seas. But
not to cut you off. Did you know that they changed Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day?
Yeah.
Now that you said that,
yeah,
I never knew that. I just found that out the other day.
Yeah, he was a monster.
That's a quick side note. But go ahead.
He was a monster. Yeah.
Columbus.
But anyway, we don't get in him. Yeah, I don't want to fuck him. I don't want to get in him.
No, it just reminded me when you said rape, pillage, and all that. Like, it just came to my mind.
So the bottom line is, we can't be prejudiced when we've been the victim of oppression.
But you don't think you could hate yourself?
You develop that. It's a learned thing.
Because
did you
one thing?
Esther, were you born to hate? Do you hate people?
Like right now?
No, period. When you were growing up, you're 32. When you were 13, 12, did you hate people? I mean, it takes a lot of energy to hate someone.
I think at 13, I hated the most people I've ever. I don't hate people now. At 13, I hated everybody.
Okay,
teachers all.
But you understand what I'm trying to say?
You're grown. You're brought up to love, right. Not hate.
Yeah. So that's the point. So that's a learned behavior.
So you pretty much you're grouping racism and prejudice into the same thing. You don't think it's possible for black people to be racist either, then?
No, because when we were freed in 1863, right, when the Constitution was signed by the forefathers in Philadelphia, when was that? In like a fucking couple years later, whatever it was, we were still enslaved. So we're not, all men aren't created equal. When the Constitution, because two things were happening. Women couldn't vote. So women, I have to include you in on this one. Because women couldn't vote at the time the Proclamation of Independence, whatever this fucking, what's it called again?
What, a proclamation?
Constitution of Independence, whatever, the paper signed, whatever. And the black man was enslaved, so all men aren't created equal. And then women
Emancipation Proclamation.
Yeah, whatever, yeah. So.
Big word.
We were enslaved, so that did not include the black man.
I don't know. I mean, I just think in modern day, because one thing that I thought was interesting that Kyrie said, I can't be anti-Semitic if I know where I'm from. But I think you could definitely be racist against your own kind.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Why? Because
but then so when he said that, I disagree with them because I think you could probably be a Semitic person who's anti-Semitic. You don't think so?
No.
Why
because
not?
See, this is another thing too. If you have a belief, then you have to go strong in it. Your faith has to be strong because you have to believe in something. That's what keeps you going. So if I'm going to say I'm Semitic, what is a Semitic? What does that mean? Okay, like 5 or 6 years ago when I finally came to the realization that things weren't right. So I had to do my own research. And once you find out, hey, wait a minute, there is something to this, that history was literally told to us backwards, literally. First of all, they lied about the number of, they totally exaggerated the number of slaves that they actually brought over from Africa to here. First of all, it's a 3-month journey. And there's only 3 currents that go straight into Africa. And the ancient Egyptians, because you find proof of this all over the New Americas where they're finding Buddhas in the Grand Canyon and actually pyramids. They just found a whole city right off the coast of Cuba under the water. You can Google it right now. All pyramids. So you mean right less than 24 hours away, you can drive and then go off into the coast of Cuba and find pyramids in the water? Okay, so that just tells you we've been here for a long time. So if you're gung-ho about who you are like this gentleman is, and like others who are now going to be, which I hope to see this planet for you tonight to look into.
Me specifically?
Of course.
Okay.
Educate yourself, my brother.
All right.
That's what it's all about. Okay?
Yeah.
So just don't let this conversation go. I expect to hear from you about what you're finding out. Because I need you just like you need me.
Absolutely.
Okay? So with that being said, you have to go gun home. Once you find out that rabbit hole continues to get deeper and deeper. Dude, I read everything.
Wait, so you said to lie to us about the amount of slaves that were brought over here.
Okay,
what
so they said that there were 12 million. Humanly impossible. First of all, the first slaves that came to America, so in the Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, and this guy's done a lot of, there's 20 of them, and they went upstate New York. And the reason why they started bringing slaves here, but with the Spaniards, the Portuguese, and the British, because the indigenous black Indians that were all down in South Carolina, Mississippi, they knew the terrain so tough that when the white man started coming in and trying to steal that land and that property from the black indigenous and Indians, the Native Americans, they were dug into them forests so deep they couldn't even get to them until they had built up a military.
Right.
So they started importing slaves all up and down the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, Cuba, all the islands, Jamaica. So that's what they did.
I have a question. You just brought you brought up something interesting, because a couple of years ago, right? I feel like all black people were saying like, "Oh, we're Native Americans," and now everyone's like, "I'm a king, I'm a Israelite," and all that. So it's like, so there was black Native Americans here.
Absolutely, there's no question about that.
Because that was another conspiracy theory, right? They said like there's just no way they could have brought that many slaves over. There had to be black
12
people
million.
Here.
So
there had to be there had to be black people here already.
Yeah, there were already black people, but they were already living here.
What do you think they gained from lying about the amount of slaves they brought over?
Because if we knew the truth, then that brings power and that brings prestige, that brings confidence. Listen, there's a scripture that I really like in the Bible, and it says that the steps of a righteous man. I read the King James, but I read the 1611. I read the older one. There's a lot of tampering with the new editions, these Bibles. So I'm not really too big into translations, so I go as far back to the original translations as I possibly can when I'm doing my studies. So I don't like these other translations. But the point I'm trying to make is, there's a main theme, and here's the scriptures that first of all, the steps of a righteous man. As long as you live righteous, what is righteous? To the best of your ability, your steps are well ordered. There are no coincidences. I believe that. Everything that happens in our lives is for a reason and a purpose. There's just no getting around that. There's a thing called karma, because in the Bible it says, whatever you sow, you'll reap. You do bad, you're going to eventually get bad. You continue to do good, you're going to do. What you guys are doing is good.
Somebody say.
You're getting a message out there. That's what we need. We need that communication, that open line of communication. So as far as what there are no coincidences. God is, in my personal opinion, that he's in control of our lives. And you're doing what you're supposed to be doing at this part in your life. And you're taking it serious, right? You're taking this podcast serious. My daughter speaks highly of you. Seriously, both of y'all. And I'm impressed with what I'm here. So what you're doing is no different from what Kyrie's doing. He just has the money to do it bigger.
Okay.
That's the only separation. Because watch this. What if Kyrie watches this podcast and likes it and chimes in?
If he watches, I didn't mean that part where I said you're stupid.
No, don't.
You got to stand on it, man.
Well, yeah.
Not if it gets him on.
No, but you never know, because you just never know.
Right.
You're right.
Like I was talking about, helping and getting my message out there. My daughter calls me the next day. Now I know I'm sitting here with you two gentlemen. So you're never going to forget this conversation, right?
No, absolutely not.
Me neither.
Going up on internet for life.
So I'm just telling you. Yeah. See what it's all about?
I mean, so I wanted to backtrack a little bit.
Go ahead.
You said that it's impossible for, or not impossible. It's just, we're not capable of being prejudiced and racist, and that's the only part that I don't agree with. Like, I think,
well, that's what Kyrie said that I had an issue with too.
Okay, so why don't you agree with it then? I mean,
because I think by definition anyone could be racist. I think white people, we tend to associate that with being white
because you don't know any different because you were born here in America.
Okay,
so that's this is what I'm saying, and I'm not saying this, so don't take it personal. No. We can't be stuck on stupid on everything. There has to be a reason. Okay, for instance. Everything is a learned behavior. You're going to learn it from your mom. Okay, for instance, I had a white friend when I was 10 years old. His name was Bobby Mullen. He was my best friend. We got into a fight one time. So I came home and we were sitting at the dinner table, and I said something like racist to my mom. Like that white boy, I can't, whatever. And all I remember is waking up about 3 minutes later on the floor, and she didn't want to hear that about
white boy. Watch this.
She didn't want that in her house, because you got to remember in the 60s and 70s, Black families were under the gun, constant. We lived in fear. The black family, especially in South Jersey, where I was born and raised, of the police, teachers, anybody that was in authority, we lived in fear of. That's just how we were raised. So everything is a learned behavior.
Right.
If you didn't know that black was black and white was white, A1, then you wouldn't have anything to say about it.
Right.
But you know it's in your mind. Oh, that's black. Oh, that's white. Why? You learned it.
Yeah.
So actually you grow up. I don't think that you grow up and just say, you know what? Okay. Can I say this?
Sure. Say what
I
you're
give
gonna
you a great analogy. Corinne, plug your ears. Anyway, how come, we're not prejudiced against women when it comes to time to get in their panties? I mean, we don't discriminate then, do we? No, we look at that and say, that's a woman, right? Because we're stuck on that thought.
Right.
We're stuck on that behavior. We learned that, hey,
But that's
she got the right parts.
I wouldn't even think that's more learned. I think that's like instinctual.
But
That's your body acting on its own.
It's a part of us. Okay, but
Yeah.
watch this. The point I'm trying to make, we get stuck on that. And we don't change that. We look at a woman all our lives. It's a thought. And we act on them. Well, that's the same thing when we're taught hate. We're taught to be prejudiced. We're taught to unjustly judge people and criticize. You understand? And yes, in the end times, it's going to come from out of our own house, from our brothers and sisters and close friends, because those are the ones we trust the most.
So are you saying that the hate came from white people?
Absolutely. It's all over the world. How come we're treated as a black man all over the world the same? How come we're known as one thing, nigger? How come?
Yo, I would say that is the most interesting thing about racism.
That
It's very consistent
it's global.
with black people everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Every country.
Everywhere.
Yo, all black people
Everywhere.
have the same complaint.
Right.
Like no matter where they're from.
Right. They got different nerves. Like in Israel, okay, the holy people. There's a section that's called the Mona Israel. There was a rite of passage back in 1972 where a group of Israelites out of Ethiopia, Africa, they're called Beta Israel. They had a rite of passage. In other words, they can return back to their homeland, which is in Israel. So in 1972, they got all these Ethiopians, the modern day, they're known as the ancient Cushites, but now they're the Ethiopians. So they got them all on these planes and they flew them back to Israel. And they flew them to an area called the Mona. And this place is next to a nuclear plant. So watch this. So not only did they not give them the rights of the quote unquote fellow Israelis that live there, but they isolated them and they live in, to this day, ghettos. They're having birth control issues over there, where they did the same thing, Planned Parenthood. And they call them kites over there, which are niggers. So you have the Israelis that are the chosen people of God, calling the black Israelis from 1972 that they flew back to Israel because they found out that genetically and DNA that they were from the ancient Israelites. And now they treat them like shit there.
You think because they're jealous because
they're black?
Because they're the real.
They're the real ones, yes.
The real chosen
Then
ones?
you have another tribe out of South Africa called the Limbas. Do your research on this. They're called the Limbas. They actually proved that they were from the Levitical priesthood, from Aaron and his sons, going way back to Moses. Moses' brother, their DNA, it's without a shadow of a doubt that they're ancient Israelites. They're the Limbas in South Africa. They're black. They keep all that statutes, laws, statutes, and commandments. And then you have one more, which they're saying that we descend from, called the Igbos. And they're in the western part of Africa.
Isn't that like Nigeria?
Yeah, bingo. So that's not, and I find this interesting too. Now, Africa, we already talked about it being a continent with over 1,500 different languages being spoken. Well, in ancient and early 1600 maps, 1400 maps, they have a whole section, and this is exactly lines up what the Bible says about when we fled Jerusalem in 70 AD. They have a whole section of Africa called Negro land. Isn't that interesting? Why? Because Africans and Negroes are two different people.
Really?
Of course. I told you about that guy, Dr. Gladden, whatever his name was, that did the cranial. That's what it is. He's a cranial expert. And he compared the African skull and the Negro skull. That's how this whole Hebrew Israelite took off, this faith and belief. And they did the comparison, and they said that the Negro skull was bigger than the African. And then they compared those skulls from the ancient times that they have dug up, and they compared the Negro skulls to this is where this whole thing took off, to the skulls that were serving servitude in Egypt, just like the Bible said, and they were the exact matches. So now the scholars are now saying, your reputable top scholars are now saying that you are the ancient Israelites.
Wait, so you're saying that there's a separation between the Negroes and
right,
Africans?
Right. Okay, the ancient Negro are Semites. The ancient Africans are Hamites. Don't forget, this all comes back from Noah's three sons.
And what's a Semite and a Hamite?
A Hamite is an African from from different tribes. It could be from Canaan, Libyan, just different. And we're supposedly descended from Noah's three sons: Japheth, Shem, and who was the third one?
If you don't know, I don't know.
It's just like right down the tip of my tongue.
So yeah, it's on the tip of my tongue too. We're Shemites. That's a clear distinction. Even though we look the same as far as pigmentation, nose, lips, we're totally different. Our DNA is totally different from the African. That's why you're not from Africa. Okay, so, and if they ever tell you to go back to Africa, you can simply say, where? Okay, most Africans who come from Africa can date their ancestry way back. We can't. Where do I go?
I mean, it's crazy because like you could look at an African American today and tell that I don't know if anybody else could, but like I could tell that they're African American.
Yeah.
But then you look at some Africans and you're like,
that's an African.
That's an African person.
I know exactly.
It's like they're very distinctive, facial structure and facial features.
Yeah. So that's that's just
that's
my
to
opinion.
me. It's
so
just
you're
like breeding,
right? So you're saying that pretty much
we're separate people, DNA wise.
The Shemites
and Hamites,
the Hamites are kind of just like a division. Not so because we think that Africans are pretty much Negroes and we're all in like the same melting pot together.
Right.
So pretty much you're telling us that it's not the same. Like
it's absolutely totally different.
So it's kind of like,
and this was found out through reputable scholars. And this is what the modern day scholars are saying. They put that information. There's a book called, I have that book, Zondervan Bible Dictionary. It's got over 1 million copies sold, and it deals nothing but with Bible, interpreting different things that you wouldn't regularly have access to in a regular Bible. Like, certain words and certain stories that needed to be validated and things of that nature. Well, the Zondervan Bible Dictionary is an excellent Bible to have, a dictionary to have. And in that dictionary, it states that the Negro and the African are two, that the African comes from 4 different tribes, where the American Negro, which are commonly known, we're completely different. And it's interesting, in Negro land, they're finding all kind of lost cities, archaeological, they accomplished a lot, the Israelites, the ancient Israelites over in Africa. So they're digging up all kind of remarkable things to show. And this is another thing too. The Africans that were native to Africa, they had a problem with these Israelites that came in and approached on their land, because they knew they were different, because we brought our records there. We brought all our skills and our talents there. Dude, they told us a complete lie when they said that we were monkeys swinging in trees and shit. Dude, we were lawyers. We were a well-oiled machine, a nation, as far as our government, to where we ran things. We had moral laws. We had education. Poetry came out of that. Mathematics came out of that. All kind of things came out of our time in Africa before the ancient people turned on us. The Africans turned on us and started selling us to the Greeks and to the Portuguese and then to the Spaniards.
All right, so let me get this straight.
I know I'm putting a lot of information.
No, you are. I just want to make sure.
I didn't want to do this.
That's why
it's fine. I just want to make sure I understand.
You got to digest it in like chunks.
So there were the native Africans,
yes,
right? And then the Israelites
who migrated.
So are the Israelites the Negroes?
The Negroes, yes.
So
God's chosen people.
All right, so Israelites / Negroes came into Africa, right?
And poached on the land.
Okay, and with all their
set up camp.
And pretty much the native Africans
were jealous.
And eventually sold them into slavery.
It's a known fact.
So that's the reason why what now is like an African American, or pretty much all the black people on the western side of the world, right, are really Negroes and not Africans.
Absolutely, the majority of them are. It's a known fact.
I was going to argue that. So I was going to argue it. How is it possible to differentiate who is really the real Israelites? But you're pretty much saying that it's only the ones that were sold in.
They're tracing.
Yo, which I guess to me it makes sense to a degree, right? Because it's like, yo, why would if you're, because I just before this conversation, right? I know
exactly where you're going with this.
Like I just thought everybody in Africa was like, all right, like, fuck it, I'm just gonna sell out my cousin just for whatever, right?
My homeboy down the street, I'm just gonna sell him.
To me, it never made sense because it's like, yo, why would you sell out your own people, right? You're selling out your own family. But if what you're saying is right, the Africans are really just sold the Negroes.
It was a lot of money. There was a lot of money in
the Israelites into slavery, right? But they're black people too. It makes a lot more sense instead of selling your own native Africans.
Okay, but think about this. When I went to Cuba, right? The white Cubans hate the black Cubans with a passion.
Same thing in DR too.
It's everywhere.
So I sometimes want, and black are guilty of this. I'll look at you and say, yo, they're your fellow countrymen. They live on the same island. They speak the same language. They have just as much as right to live here as you. Why do you isolate them? Every commercial you see, they look at the fair-skinned white Caribbean. That's not the case. Corinne, when we went to Cuba, 99% of the freaking island is black, dude. There wasn't a white face in the airport. Not a white, nowhere. We stayed in Havana. You never see that though, do you? When they're promoting tourism
Cuba.
and
you just see the blue-eyed white people.
The blue-eyed whites.
The blue-eyed white.
Dude, when they had that hurricane in Puerto Rico a couple years ago, remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That's like every year for them.
Okay, but this one devastated the island. Do you know when they went to Puerto Rico and all the footage, all them black people that are on Puerto Rico Island, they never show one. Not one. Where were they at? They were under the same tornado or hurricane, right? Because their focus is not. It's all we're the we're the tail of society. We're not the head. We're the one that catches all the shit, you know.
I mean, but let's not confuse the fact that racism isn't only a black thing, though.
No, it's not.
I do want to ask one more question. Go ahead, so, where are the original Negroes from again?
Good question. I've been trying to find that answer right now. So
I guess to me it's like, all right, if someone like yells at you like, "Yo, go back to Africa" or whatever, right? But you're not really an African. You're a Negro / Israelite, right? So it's like, yo, where is my original home then? Because we weren't native to Africa, right? So where do we come from? Well, because originally we were slaves in Egypt, which is part of Africa.
But then we suffered 7 more slaveries after that.
There was 7 more?
Oh, yeah. We went into the Babylonian, Assyrian, Persian.
Negroes.
As part of our punishment. This wasn't as soon as we messed up and God had enough, according to the scriptures, he sent us into one slavery to another.
So, all right. So when we got freed from Egypt, right?
Right. 40 years.
By God, right?
Right.
He said, like, as long as y'all follow these rules in my... So I'm assuming we didn't.
Absolutely not. Messed up terribly.
I mean, but they didn't immediately, which is why Moses went to the top of the mountain and broke the commandments. He slammed on it and he slammed on it out of frustration.
So we messed up, and we've been messing up ever since. We can't leave booty alone. We can't leave alcohol. We do everything in excess. We're stiff-necked, rebellious people. Yeah. Does it sound familiar?
I like booty and alcohol.
Yeah. No, that's what it basically all boiled down to, ain't it? Yeah. Huh?
Yeah. One of my favorite things, especially when you combine them.
Yeah. So that's what happened. So we messed up, and so we went into multiple slaveries after that.
As punishment.
As punishment.
Yo, and it's like, are we going through one right now?
Yes, this is our last and final slavery for the tribe of Judah, Levi, and Benjamin, because there were 12 tribes. This is our last slavery. We're in it now. So we came in 400 years ago. That's where our history starts. Just whatever. It starts with slavery, ends with slavery. So
when you say last, you mean like last and like all right, after this, like shit's gonna be good, or it's like the worst?
no, it's going to get worse. According to the scripture, it's not going to get any better. Because
But if it's
so we've had a lot of black leaders: Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, the great Elijah Muhammad. Well, all these black kings. Do you know they're all failures?
Why are they all failures? Why are they all failures?
Because we're still not free. We still don't have the respect. The black man, the Native American, and Hispanic.
You don't think they did a good job?
No, they didn't do a good job at all.
Damn.
They're all failures. Complete and utter failures. Jesse Jackson, they all got rich. They lined their pockets.
This is going to be the ill clip.
Watch this. They lined their pockets. But watch this. You know, the big Barack Obama thing, the only thing that benefited from them people were the gay people. Blacks didn't get nothing from Barack Obama. Listen. Nothing is going to be right.
How about Kamala Harris?
Oh, she's even the worst of the worst. She's the worst of the worst. So, yeah. I have my, And I mean, you could do your own research.
So has there ever been a good black leader, in your personal opinion?
No. Because, and I'll tell you why. If you do your research, most of them are all Freemasons. So, no, there hasn't been a good black leader.
And what's wrong with being a Freemason?
Well, that's an ancient religion. It's a satanic religion.
Absolutely. So the Freemasons are a satanic religion.
Absolutely.
Because
I know all their history. I'll going back to Alan Weishaupt. She's killing them. They're all 30 degrees. They call themselves the enlightened ones. You talk about somebody who thinks that they're better. Yeah, there's nothing worse, and I'm going to say this. Is there a camera? There's nothing worse than a Freemason who has money. Okay, because they already think that they're better and they're the enlightened ones of the earth.
I mean, most Freemasons, most powerful people tend to be Freemasons.
Oh, they're all.
Jay-Z's Freemason.
Oh, they're all Freemasons.
Closest Freemason.
They're all. You have to have.
I mean, all the rich black people are Freemasons. It seems
it's an agenda. Well, they're not called Freemasons. They're called Black Boule. I just
never heard of that one.
Oh, of course you never heard of the Boule. Now you got another assignment, A1. Look up the Boule.
What is the Boule?
That sounds like something we heard in New Orleans.
So you do know a little bit about the Boule, huh? Because
Boule just sounds like New Orleans.
It's exactly where it started.
Really?
Yes, down in New Orleans, Mississippi. Oh yeah, so you are, yeah. So yeah, look up the Black Boule. That's who's running the show. They're called gatekeepers, Black Boule, like your Denzel Washington. You think people make $40 million a film because they're great actors? Fuck no.
Yeah,
because they're part of the agenda.
Like Training.
You know what it sounded
Training
like?
Day was good.
Yeah. And he won an Oscar for being a corrupt, low down, stinking cop, and who he didn't even allow his kids to watch the movie.
Oh really?
Oh yeah. Denzel says, "Oh, I wouldn't let my kids watch that movie." So they gave, and just like they gave Halle Berry an Oscar for letting Billy Bob Thornton bop her in the ass. Okay, I can see if it was a Tom Cruise or one of the elite white actors, but they got that trashy Billy Bob Thornton in Monsters Ball and freaking. She's disgusting. What a pig. She's a fucking pig.
It was.
Oh, you make me feel so good. You know, come on,
I cream myself when I watch that shit.
Freak out a little bit.
That fucking scene was nuts.
Yeah. Billy Bob Thornton.
That's before porn was accessible, so that's all I had.
That was like soft porn. You just got
But Billy Bob Thornton, man.
Yeah, I get it.
He's trash. Well, they're all trash, but why couldn't it be Tom Cruise or one of the big
That'd
names?
make it believable.
Like Arnold or somebody.
Arnold isn't believable enough.
So let me ask you this, right? So with all the backlash that Kyrie's getting from this, do you understand, like, do you feel any like sympathy or empathy for the Jewish people that are feeling like their life's in danger?
No, which ones? The white ones, the Caucasian Jewish people?
The Caucasian.
Not a bit.
Because from my point of view, right?
I was going to ask that too.
I do kind of get where they're coming from to a degree, because it's like, all right, they're seeing like, all like the support for anti-Semitic or anti-Semitism.
Yeah. Welcome to my world.
No, which I understand, right? Because now they're experiencing racism that black people face all the time, and no one gives a fuck.
Every day, by the way.
Every day.
Did you know last year? Do you know how many black men they got killed on the street of America last year?
No, not off the top of my head.
350 murdered by police on the streets of America. So do you ask me, do I give a shit about them? Not a bit.
Because
I mean, but essentially, this
I
was
get from their point of view,
yeah.
like, do they? I think that they think like, damn, it's like another Holocaust coming.
Well, we contribute. Your tax-paying money contribute $5 million a year to that freaking Holocaust in Washington D.C. When you didn't get nothing yet, have you?
No
For
reparation.
what your people have been through in this world. So no, I don't have sympathy for.
I mean, I'm not.
No. You may see. Here's what they say. Here's what they say to people all the time. Well, that happened to them. That didn't happen to you. It most certainly did, because I'm still feeling the pinch of it. I mean, so they don't have chains. Yeah. They won't forget the Holocaust. Everything's about the Jews.
How long was the Holocaust exactly?
Oh, well, they were actually
years wise.
Probably about 5, because the war didn't go on. When he went World War II, after we when we went into D-Day or whatever, when all the Allies and we ran, that's when we conquered. So it wasn't really long. It wasn't a long.
I mean, I guess you'll compare it to slavery. Like,
and I was just going to say that.
They killed.
Have you ever heard of Leopold, King Leopold in the Congo?
Is he the one that killed
Belgium?
Like 10 million?
No, 250 million slaves. And if you didn't meet the quota, he chopped off your hands. And left, and there was millions and millions. So King Leopold did more damage. And guess who else did a lot of damage to the Israelites? That fucking Mussolini down in Africa. He went into the Western. See, they know who we are. They know who the Israelites are.
I mean,
so they go down and target
when you start
them.
looking at like mass murders, like Hitler's not even top 5.
Not even top 5. Not even close.
Leopold, 250 million.
Which makes me say,
and guess who was in on it with them? America. And the British and the Spaniards and the Portuguese. They all, for rubber. Rubber was the big thing back then. So he went into the Congo. You ever see that movie Tarzan?
Yeah.
It's about Leopold.
Oh.
Remember the black soldiers went in and killed all those, that one scene, killed all those Africans in the jungle or whatever? Well, that was based on what happened in real life with King Leopold. So we've had monsters after monsters that have killed millions of us.
So there's no empathy for
I don't have
any
any
empathy.
Jews absolutely not.
That could possibly end up in the Holocaust.
And you know what?
Again.
Can I say something? You know, I'm disappointed in that Bosnia war. Not Bosnia, over there in Ukraine.
War?
Yeah, let me tell you, they're drenched in blood. Their hands are drenched. So when they kill each other over land, oil, gas, all material stuff, it's not to benefit and help people. It's money and power. That's why they're killing each other. It's mine, mine, mine. That's that king baby syndrome.
I mean, but black people's hands aren't clean either. We sold ourselves.
Of course, we had no choice. Dude, they're eating steak and giving us pig guts. Come on. Yeah, they're eating hams and pork chops, lean, and they're giving us the tongues and the balls and the ears and the eyes.
Wait, no.
Eat.
So you can't justify what's happening in the Caucasian realm, but when it comes to the African American, you could justify that. Not every African American, the Africans selling the Negroes.
Right.
That's justifiable.
Well, no, that's not justifiable. But the mentality of the Negro certainly is. Because of everything that we endure on a daily basis. We are a wounded animal. We are what you call every byword imaginable. We are wanderers, nomads, gypsies, you sort of say. We have no place to lay our head, literally. Just because what you see, taste, smell, and hear on a daily basis is really not what's happening behind the scenes.
No, but you said that the Africans were jealous of the Negroes.
Yeah, because they imposed on. Right. So were they justified in it? Absolutely not. No human being is just. But that's what prejudice. That's what envy and strife and division come from. That mentality, and it was introduced. And I'm going to be honest with you. When the Europeans, if you read, there's a lot of books out there. It was that mentality was introduced when we started mixing and integrating. So if I had known this information,
mix and integrating with
races and that and nation, it was never meant to be that way.
So
for race mixing, it was never meant to be.
What are your thoughts on mixed people?
Now that I'm woke, I wish I had known this information a long time ago. I'm against it.
You're against.
Mm-hmm.
You're against.
And I have a mixed child that I love dearly.
You seem mixed yourself, right?
No, I'm Spanish. My father was Cuban. My mom's black. My mom, right? Yeah. But my mom and dad were dark as you. So I wouldn't promote it to this day. No, I think that, especially because we're only 13% of the population anyway. The American Negroes, the Negroes scattered. If there's 8 billion people on the earth, we're less than 1 billion. There's 8 people on Earth, 7.8 billion. So the Negroes less than a billion, 13%.
But do you like?
They can't kill us all, but we're still 13%.
No, I get it. So you don't promote mixed relationships.
No, I wouldn't know.
Do you like look down on like people that are mixed?
Absolutely not.
What are we considering mixed? Black
and white, Chinese or whatever,
what about
whatever.
Spanish and black?
See, well, I'm going to tell you, it's interesting you said that because that's a big thing in the Hebrew Israelite community about why a lot of black men are accepting these Puerto Ricans because they the straight hair and they're like, So what's the difference? That's a big topic in the Israelite community because some camps do it and some camps just stick with black women.
How do you feel about it?
Black women. I think that black men should stay with black women because to promote the black family.
But like, how about black Latinos?
Oh, absolutely. There are brothers and sisters.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely. All of them on the islands. Yes, they're all. See, the lighter skins are Taino. They're Spaniards.
Okay.
Okay, they're direct descendants from Spain. And I found it interesting, too, because, Spain went up and down the Caribbean and conquered all those islands with the Portuguese because they had the money back then. And to this day, Cuba still relies on Spain. Remember, I was talking to Alexander for all their needs. So their conquerors are still supporting them. And let me tell you some other interesting stuff about Puerto Rico. First of all, back in the day, before it was conquered, it wasn't called Puerto Rico. I don't know where they came up with this name. I think it was in the 70s, Puerto Ricans, or 60s, or whatever.
Somebody said, this is not the first time I'm hearing this.
Yeah, Puerto Rican. That's not even a culture. But anyways, it's just a name. It was called the Isle of the Port. That's what Puerto Rico was called. And it was so rich in minerals and different things until it was raped and just took everything. The kids used to play with diamonds on the beach, not even knowing they were diamonds.
Yeah,
they played marbles and shit like that. So when they went in there, they just took everything. Tobacco was in Cuba, rice, and wherever it was growing. See, you got to remember, these Spaniards didn't know nothing about how to cultivate, grow things because the soil and the temperatures and everything was different. So where do you think they learned everything from? The people that were already there on the islands. They didn't go trial by error. These different islands were set up places with thriving
ecosystems or economy.
Yeah, with a thriving people, building and everything. So they didn't need no help. They trusted.
All right, before we wrap this episode up, I just got one more question for you. So I'm assuming, or you stated like now that you're more woke or awake, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming that you always haven't been this knowledgeable on this topic.
Absolutely
right?
not.
So how long ago did you like begin this journey, and why did you?
Okay, I heard it's. I'm glad that you asked me that because about 7 years ago I had a dream, and I can't remember the whole dream, so I don't want to make it up, but this name came out of this dream. Whether I saw it on not a cartoon, on a commercial, I don't remember. Enoch. The name Enoch came to me. So I was with a girl at the time, and I went into the living room, and I said to my girlfriend at the time, I said, "Hey, have you ever heard of the book of Enoch or Enoch?" And she says, "Yeah, I think so." And I said, "Yo, I want to get that book." And that's how I started.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Do you
So
feel like that was a vision from God?
Absolutely.
Isn't that one of the sons?
Because
that's one of the sons, right?
Enoch was, he's from the very beginning. He was the one that walked with God and was not. He had all these visions, and the book of Enoch is very good reading.
And what, I guess, God do you believe in? Like the
monotheistic God. I believe in the one God of Israel. I don't believe in the Holy Trinity, the Holy Ghost, and the Allah. None of that. I believe in the one God, and that name was removed out of the Bible, the original manuscript, over 7,000 times.
Do you believe in Jesus?
I believe that he was the Son of God. Yes.
Do you believe he was a prophet?
I believe he was a great teacher and a prophet. Yes. There's a lot of speculations on who he was taught by. I believe it was the Essenes, which is a group that lived in the Qumran Valley at the time that Jesus existed. I'm having
Son of
some
God
issues,
as in what? Exactly?
Because we're all sons of God. See, do you know you're God? Do you know that?
I would like to think so.
Because you know why you're God? Do you know why you're God?
Why he's God?
Why do you think you're God?
Isn't this like Doesn't Erykah Badu follow like this same ideology as well?
Yeah, but the reason why we say we're all gods because he made us in his image. He said, "Let us make man and God." Don't forget, God feels, tastes, smells. You know, he loves barbecue. He loves stuff like that. In the Old Testament, he told when they made their sacrifices after all the meat was sacrificed before God, he told them what seasoning to use, how to make it, how to boil. And then some instances, the smoke went all the way up to heaven, and he smelled it, and it was a sweet savior. So you know God's black because he loves barbecue.
That's crazy.
So
never heard of
barbecue.
That.
Yeah, he told the elders what seasonings to use.
Yeah,
how the fire.
Could have been white.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. All of that, how to make it and prepare the food. Seriously.
So which was crazy because
sometimes he said he would smell it. So, and then I got one more real quick. I got one more story. So we know that God's in touch with his people. In the book of Deuteronomy, there's a part in the Bible. This is when they're in their sojourn in the desert during the 40 years. So the Israelites, the black Israelites at the time had a problem with pooping like everybody else. But they wouldn't bury their poop. It would be poop all over the place. So you figure there's 2-3 million people out there in the desert.
People are getting sick.
Right. So there's a lot of shit on the ground, right?
Yeah.
A lot of disgusting shit going down. So in the Bible, I believe a lot of literally. So God came down and told Moses, yo, you got to tell these people to start burying their shit. I walk among you every day. I don't want to see
I'm out here stepping on
shit.
Yeah.
I mean, so in other words, when people say that God's not in touch with us, he told women when they're on their period, don't let your man touch you.
Is that supposed to be like 7 days?
Yeah, 7 days. You're unclean at that time. We still do it.
I'll be running
seriously, no, I'm just letting you know. Seriously, so there's laws, statutes, and commandments that he wanted us to adhere.
We shouldn't be fucking them on their periods?
Nah.
That's what they be doing.
So
That's when they're almost horny.
Yeah, but still no. So there's laws and statutes that we don't want to adhere by. So
keep your fucking hands off you, floozy.
I don't think you're supposed to touch them.
That's the point I'm trying to make. He's in touch with us.
No, I don't think you're supposed to touch your women at all. Like,
man, you're not.
Like physically touch them in any circumstances. They're considered unclean. Them and pork.
Yeah. Pork, you can't. Pork eaters. Yeah, I'd stop eating pork and all that. That's a detestable freaking pig.
I'm fucking up today, man.
Yeah.
I done had sex today. Drink a beer. And I ate a rib.
Hey.
Barbecue though.
Yeah, barbecue. Yeah. Hey, there's still hope, man. I love you. You look like a great guy. Listen, come on, man. This is beautiful over here. But listen, seriously, all jokes aside. So that's why Kyrie, because all they're letting us know, hey, can't we have an identity? What's wrong with that, man? Can't we have something we can call our own, that we could be proud of, that we could build off of, that we can actually become independent? I mean, come on. They were dropping bombs on us in fucking Oklahoma 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, because we were a thriving people. Gasoline bombs from fucking makeshift airplanes that the Wright brothers just invented, but they had enough sense to fly over the city in Oklahoma and kill 700-800 people that had their own banks, their own schools, their own hospitals, their own everything. So you see what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter.
Which is crazy that still doesn't get acknowledged to this day.
It still doesn't.
That's not even like that. Never happened.
Central Park?
Yeah.
You know they used
was supposed to be black people.
That was actually
a thriving community. Yeah. Oh, we don't want them niggas there. Knock them all out and chase them out of there. And now it's a park.
And none of them got paid for it.
What's it? And now it's a park where you can go and do what? I don't know.
Isn't there like a tree there? No, this is maybe it's maybe it's.
It seems like every community that black people had back in the day, like they did something to get rid of it.
Do you know if you fly over all your major metropolitan cities, you can know where the black people live? If you're in a helicopter or whatever. Okay, like I lived in Danbury, right? And my friend had a plane, so we used to fly over Danbury, go and venture off in upstate New York. Anyway, I knew exactly where all the ghettos were from the air.
How'd you know?
The fucking, you could tell. They're all square mile, and they're projects, apartment buildings. And the niggers live there. Spanish people live there. You could tell from the air. Oh, yeah, that's Laurel Gardens. Oh, that's High Ridge. Because you can tell. I mean, it seems like they're all surrounded by flourishing, nice buildings and jobs and all that. And all of a sudden, you get them to the ghetto.
So I get the reason that the Africans, I don't get. I guess I can understand why the Africans had a problem with the Negroes.
So why do the Negroes have a problem with the Negro?
No, that's a fair question
Go
too.
ahead.
But why is it that then? Why is it so consistent? White people having problem with Negroes all over?
Because they don't even know. They have no idea.
Why
it's in them. They have no idea.
It's in them to hate Negroes.
Right. It's most for the majority of them. Okay. I don't know if you remember this. A couple of years ago, a guy who was with a handicapped guy was pulled over by 2 Florida police. And for some reason, they thought that he was kidnapping his hand.
Yeah.
Anyway, they got into it ended up being not a shootout, but he shot that innocent worker who he was like, he's a client. I'm at work. So when his partner asked him, why did you shoot him? Thank God the guy lived. You know what his partner said? I don't know. He didn't know. You know what? Do you hear? I believe that's when when white cops kill, maliciously murder, gunned down. Like they just shot that 16-year-old in Chicago 90 times or whatever. 90 times. They shot at him, 60 of the bullets hit. A 16-year-old kid. If you asked half of them how many times they fired a shot, they wouldn't know. Because it's in them to hate the Negro. See, we changed names. When we got here, we were Negroes. Then we turned to colored people. Then in 1977, Jesse Jackson and his fake-ass cronies decided we want to be called African Americans. That didn't happen until 1977, 1978. Okay? Who voted? Did you vote for that? Fuck no. Did you have a right to? No, they made the decision. So then what are we going to be next? Besides monkeys and pigs and whatever else they call us. So when you're the tail, you're the tail. So whether you have money being the tail, because you know what it all boils down to? Now they're going to put that nigger in his place. So if he complies with them and embarrasses himself before the world, they won. If he says, okay, I'll do it, I want that money, then motherfuckers will be screaming mad like myself, saying, you fucking, that's why we don't get along with one another. White people stick together. Let a fucking white girl get kidnapped in America. It's all over the world, all over nationally, every day. Susie Park, she's missing, help us find her. I say, fuck Susie Park. You know why I say that? Because 40,000 black girls go missing in the streets of America that are never seen again. Never, not even mentioned. Do you know 5 years ago in Washington, D.C., they were averaging 10 or 15 a month for like 6 months? Girls off the streets, gone, poof, disappeared. Never heard from again in our nation's capital. Did you ever hear about that?
No.
So I say, fuck Susie Park.
All right, my last question to you. So
I have a last question too.
All right, we got 2 last.
Okay.
So how do we fix this?
Okay, we fix it by uniting. A house that can't stand is a house that's divided will never stand. We have to build a foundation.
Okay.
When will that happen? Where will that happen?
Go ahead. Should we unite with just Negroes or all black people? Africans?
Okay. No, exclude the African.
Okay.
They're not a part of us.
Okay.
So I would say yes, that needs to be a global thing, and I think that we're in the start of it because there are a lot of young people. The older people you're not going to be able to change because they're stuck on stupid. I thank God that I was open and willing to change and to look for something new. But it's the younger people that I'm concerned about now. So what Kanye and everybody else has done is they've worked these young people up, and they're going to do some heavy research now. And if they come to the conclusion that they're actually descend from ancient Israel, then that should make a difference because the younger generation is going to be highly motivated. Like, they're going to look at you and say, yeah, motherfucker, you got me for this long. You fooled me this, fooled me that. But I'm not fooled no more.
Right.
So that's a good thing. That's why you got the boule. I want you to look up a few things. Matter of fact, I'm going to exchange numbers.
Okay.
I want you to do some research. Because knowledge is decayed. Without knowledge, if you don't know what's going on, if you think you know what's going on, but you really don't know what's going on, you're like a wave. You're tossed to and fro. You're never settled. I think maybe I'm too lazy to do the research, or I don't care. Well, it doesn't bother me. I have a job. Well, it's going to bother your brother. It's going to bother the one after you. It's going to bother the one before. You understand? It's a ripple effect.
Okay.
So
So
I believe
you said so pretty much we unite, but what do we do when we unite?
Well, we have to educate ourselves first. We have to know the number one selling is the Bible in the world. That's undoubtedly the number one selling book. So obviously a lot of people read the Bible. So if you really read the Bible and you find out who the Bible is for and only.
You believe what's written in the Bible?
I don't believe a lot of them, no, because it's been translated. Plus, there were so many fires in Alexandria that destroyed a lot of records. So no, I don't actually believe everything's in the Bible. Absolutely not. It's too many contradictions.
All right.
It's too much shit. Like the New Testament, most of that shit, like slaves obey your master. Well, I say fuck you. And you see that new commercial that's on TV? It's about turning the other cheek. Have you seen that? And they're using a black man as an example. Oh, you must turn. And they're using Jesus. What would Jesus do? And they're using a man darker than you. Smack me, please, so I can give you the other one. Isn't that something? So they're continuously putting it subliminally in your mind. Only the black man will forgive you and turn the other cheek. Only the black man will carry that master's shit for 3 miles when the master only said carry it 1. You see? Slave mentality. So they're going to constantly feed us directly, indirectly. And most of the shit is through symbolism and imaging now. And it's done in plain sight. How do you think the fucking Simpsons predict everything? Pinpoint accuracy. It's a matrix. It's happened before. They pinpointed it. They just pinpointed the Queen's death to the T.
It's just history repeating itself.
That's all it is. Stimulation. Matrix. Pop it in. Do you know people are transporting back? They're in one place and another place the next. All that shit's happening, man. Portals are, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So my not to cut you off, but I know we're trying to wrap up, but
we'll wrap
I have
up.
kind of a 2-part question.
Go ahead.
So what do you think about the current black activists today? Like, we have Dr. Umar, we have Al Sharpton.
Okay.
What do you think about them and also Black Lives Matter?
Well, I listened to Dr. Umar. He's very intelligent. He's very knowledgeable. Where he lost me is he collected $700,000 for this mystery fucking school that was never built.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's pictured with white women when he's anti this and that. So Dr. Umar
Not Dr.
Johnson.
Umar.
Dr. Umar Johnson.
Not Dr. Umar.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
White
Dr.
women.
Umar, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so
White women.
White women.
Caucasian.
Caucasian.
What?
And he's from Philly too, so he's a brother. And if you're
The
listening,
mountains
Dr.
of
Umar,
Caucasus.
hey, listen. And if you're listening, Dr. Umar, I'm really disappointed in you because really what you did is you robbed your own fucking people. This charter school, this mystery school that you promoted for years and years, there's not even a fucking piece of dirt that you own. So you're a disgrace. You're very knowledgeable. That's what makes you slick. Because you're very knowledgeable on current events. But you're a big loser. So that's what I think about it.
Okay. I mean, he does shame people for like giving like $1 or $5 on this thing. But I thought it didn't get no blacker than Dr. Umar. I thought he was like as black as it gets.
No. He just robbed his people. 700 something. Then he has a nerve to post, oh, I'm loving China. I've been here for a month. Oh, I'm over in this country. On our dime. Well, you're not getting a dime from me. You never were.
What's the other large black activist name? What is
There's a whole bunch of them out there.
I was trying to Google it, but I couldn't find his name.
Al Sharpton. Well, he's a high-ranking Freemason.
Okay, so he's a Freemason.
So he's a piece of shit. He's been a piece of shit from back in the day when he was fat. I think I like the fat. What's wrong with
the fat guys?
Watch this. No, I'm not saying it in that way. Watch this. 'Cause I used to be No. I liked him. Well, I didn't mean to say that. But anyway, I liked him when he was bigger. Because he was a real pig then.
Politically correct.
Now he's a dress. Watch
this. Give it to me the real deal, man.
Watch this. I liked him when he was bigger. Now he's just a dressed up pig.
Okay.
In fine clothes.
Pig in disguise.
Absolutely. Keep doing your.
Well, now last up, Black Lives Matter. What's your take?
Oh my God! Please, the 2 lesbians who collected 90. Let me say something to you bitches. Watch this. You bitches just got rich. You collected $90 fucking million for Black Lives Matter. Who the Jews are running? They financed the NAACP.
The white Jews.
Oh yes, the Jews did. The
white
Muslims.
Jews.
They started all of that shit.
The white Jews, not the black Jews.
Absolutely, not the black Jews. The white Jews.
Okay.
Not the Israelites.
So not the Israelites. So the two lesbians, I got a message from you. You could rot in hell for what you did. $90 million, and you're building mansions and living in gated communities, and you haven't even built a fucking school or hospital.
What's that black girl that that's been pretty like on the conservative side? Yes, she just came up with a fucking expose pretty
George
much.
Floyd and,
I want to watch that so
Who
badly.
Who is it?
Candace Owens.
Oh, I kind of like Candace, you know. Yeah, the reason why I kind of like her
that's an odd take for me.
And I'm going to tell you why I like Candace, because she addresses her community as, haven't you had enough? I mean, aren't you sick of the shit? And she addresses black families. I listen to her when she has a lot of interesting things as far as I'm concerned to the black family.
But she also has a documentary about the Black Lives Matter and exposing the money that they spent and trying to trace it down.
What they do with $90 million?
Allegedly, they paid for drag queen.
Of course they did.
Drag
that's the gay agenda. They
drag
promoted
queen
that.
something or the other. Like.
All right.
So anyway.
All right, I think we're
okay. Anyway, I hope I enjoy. I didn't go too crazy, but I'm really fanatical in a lot of stuff.
You went crazy. You went crazy.
Do you think it'll be broadcasted?
We're gonna do some editing on this one. But, honestly, thank you for coming on.
Okay.
Great episode.
Honestly, I could have kept going, but
yeah. Well, I think we definitely got to have you back on, man, for part 2.
Definitely.
And, I want to give the history of the Israelites, seriously, because I didn't actually get a chance. And I just want to put this out there. In the late 1800s, a guy by the name of Frank Cherry and William Saunders Crawley actually started the Hebrew Israelite movement. So that's how long it's been. In other words, waking us up to the fact that they were ex-slaves. And it carried right into the early 1900s. And now I'll say one last thing. There was a group called the Commandment Keepers, which Martin Luther King was a part of, Marcus Garvey was a part of, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a part of. Who else? What are the other big black leaders at that time? And what they did is that it was a group of black men who were Hebrew Israelites, and they tried to get recognition. Oh, and a guy by the name of Abba Bivens. He was from the West Indies. They tried to get recognition to hold Jewish synagogues and whatnot, and they were doing everything that you were supposed to. Women sitting on the left, men sitting on the right, all the dietary laws and things like that. So this movement, the point I'm trying to make, has been going strong, but it just took 2 people, because all those Israelite groups that you see on the street been screaming loud for years, and the knowledge and the information is out there, but you're just now finding out about it.
What you say? Screaming in the wilderness?
Yes. Like John the Baptist. Exactly. And now, all of a sudden, 2 voices. Wow. Now there's going to be a lot of inquiry. Like, who are they? What's the big secret? What's the mysticism
It's
about?
possibly what they're afraid of.
And hopefully we add to that with this episode. But,
so, yeah. Give me a heads up.
Man, thank you for coming on.
Yep.
Leave your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to drop a like. Keep tuning in.
All right.